Alright, today's target will be solving inequalities. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to solve a multi-step inequality algebraically and represent the solution set of your inequality on a graph. Now, your steps for solving a multi-step inequality are almost identical to those for solving a multi-step equation. So if you've not watched the multi-step equations video and you don't have the notes to that video, please take a second now to pause this video. I want you to go back and re-watch the multi-step equations video so that you have the steps and you have a better understanding of what we're going to do here with this video. Because I'm not going to go through each step. I'm basically going to highlight where it changes and the important things to know when solving an inequality. So with that being said, here's our inequality. We want to solve this for P, and then we want to represent our solution set on the number line that's been given to us. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do, just like with solving an equation, is we're going to simplify each side. Okay? So by simplify each side, I mean distribute, combine the like terms if possible, but simplify each side of the inequality. Okay? So on the left side, I can distribute. Whoops. So when I distribute, I get 3p minus 9. I can then combine my two like terms. 3p and negative 5p gives me negative 2p. Still the negative 9. On the other side of the inequality, there's nothing I can simplify, nothing I can combine. So that just stays as 3p minus 6. So there's step 1. Now step 2, I want to get all my variables to the left, all my numbers to the right. So I'm going to add my 3p to both sides. So that cancels him out, moves him to the right, and then I'm also going to add 9 to both sides. Cancels him out, moves everything, move all the numbers to the left. So on the right, negative 2p plus 3p is just p. And then on the opposite side, I have negative 6 plus 9, which is just 3. Okay. Now here, I've got p by itself. So that's my final answer. Here's when I'll make a note. This is where it might change. In step 3 was where we divided by the coefficient of our variable. In step 3, if you divide both sides by a negative number, you must flip the inequality. So in other words, a greater than would become less than would become greater than or equal to would become less than or equal to, or less than or equal to would become greater than or equal to. So you just flip it back and forth if you divide both sides by a negative in step number 3. So important thing to note, okay? Big thing to take away from this video, make sure you have that down. Once again, if you divide both sides by a negative, you must flip the inequality. So that's part 1 here. The next thing we have to do is have to be able to represent this solution on a graph. So our solution was p is greater than 3. So to graph this, I'm going to put a point on 3. Now, because I'm strictly greater than, I'm going to have an open circle. If it's greater than or less than, you use an open circle. If it's greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, you use a closed circle. Okay? So I'm going to start with an open circle on 3 because p is greater than 3, no equal to. Now because p is greater than 3, I'm going to go to the right. This means that any value bigger than 3 will satisfy this inequality. So if I plug in 4 for P, or 5, or 6, or 7, or 8, or 9, or 100, or 300, or 456, all of those values would give me a good inequality with a good solution. Okay? So when you solve an inequality, you don't have one solution, you have many solutions. Okay? And we represent all those solutions with an inequality. So in this case, sorry there. I'm not sure what happened there. I apologize for that. Okay? So once again, just to reiterate, with an inequality, you're going to have multiple solutions. Okay, the way we represent those multiple solutions is with a graph. If we end up with P less than 3, our arrow would go to the left to highlight all the numbers that are smaller than 3. Okay, so the two key things to note from this video are how we graph it, okay, and then that little difference in step number 3. Okay, so that being said, it's now your turn to try one. Okay, use the steps we had for a multi-step inequality. Keep in mind that if you divide both sides by a negative, you're going to have to flip the inequality. So go ahead and solve for k, and then once you solve for k, I want you to graph your solution. Pause the video now. Here's what your solution should look like. Did you get it right? Keep in mind a couple things. Number one, here in your last step, step number 3, we divided both sides by a -8. When you divide both sides by a -8, this sign has to flip. So if you want from being greater than to being less than. So your final answer should be k is less than or equal to 7. Make sure you did that. If you didn't, make a note of it. Okay? Now when we go to graph this solution, because it's less than or equal to, we put a closed circle on 7, and then k is less than 7, so we made an arrow going to the left to indicate all the numbers that are smaller than 7 are solutions to this inequality. Okay? So that's all I got for you today. Make sure you've got the video notes. More importantly, make sure you got the 2 big things that I highlighted, the step number 3 difference, and then how to graph it. As always, if you have questions, please make a note of them so you get your questions answered next time in class.